Thank you very much. And by way of mandate of our ministry, that is as assigned to us by Mr. President himself. And don't forget that constitutionally, under the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, under Section 18, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, it says that government shall science and technology. I mean, that's a specific statement coming from the fountain of laws of the country itself. So, for the period in view, that is between 2019 and present, which of course will terminate next year, 2023, when the life of this administration will end, the deliverables as handed to us by Mr. President, implementation of the new 2022 National Science and Technology and Innovation Policy, B, rationalize, revitalize, and reposition all federal research institutes. C is the establishment of program for the utilization and commercialization of research outputs from the federal research institutes by small businesses. And what we are saying here, then we cannot say that we have really achieved. And it's not an easy task at all. And that's why we continue to encourage a kind of handshake. Products can get to the market, and it's when these products get to the market that they become useful to us as a people. D is establishment of science and technology parks across the country, subject to the availability of intervention funds. And I really like that clause, subject to intervention funds, because you cannot do these things without funding. It's very critical. E is actively collaborate with the private sector to create large number of well-paid jobs for the Nigerian youth. And of course, the last mandate is to implement a strategy towards the realization of Mr. President's June 12 promise to take 100 million of Nigerians out of poverty in the next 10 years. That's a collaborative thing. It doesn't lie, strictly or absolutely with the Federal Ministry of Science, Tech and Innovation. It's a joint the vision statement of our ministry is to be the foremost national science, technology and innovation establishment in Africa, comparable with the best in the world. That's the vision statement. The mission statement is to deploy science, technology and innovation in achieving sustainable knowledge-based economy for the nation. And I need to just say a little bit more about this. I always say that when you talk of resource-based, oftentimes we are looking at natural resources. But natural resources are finite. They can dry up. And that is why the focus, the goal is to move from resource-based to knowledge-based. Knowledge is infinite. So there's always something to look for, to develop when you're talking of knowledge. And that is what the global approach is. Well, in terms of the core values, just briefly, there are about 9 core values that we have put here, but let me just quickly mention a few. It's maintaining, nurturing, and promoting science, tech, and innovation ethics and values, promoting STI. When next you hear STI, it's science, tech, and innovation. Enables research and development for reliability towards sustainable development. Cause adaptability and applicability of STI-enabled research and development breakthrough and findings, and imbibing the culture of result-based management logical framework. And critical success factors that we have established include promoting the value of science, tech, and innovation to the general public through continuous effective advocacy. And that is one of the things we are doing in our Executive Order 5, which is to establish a culture. A culture, when you establish a culture, it becomes routine, it becomes part of you. Culture of science, technology, and innovation in everything that we do. these days. Because it doesn't matter whether you are an arts person or you are in, name it, you need science, technology, and innovation to move ahead. Because that's why we say we are in the age of the fourth industrial revolution, which has science and technology embedded in virtually everything that we do. Of course, we want to be sure that people get value for money in all research and development plans, programs, and projects. Part of the critical success factors also include enhancing adequate coordination of regulatory institutions in Nigeria for standardization and metrology of products in the course of conformity assessment using appropriate toolbox to provide certification and accreditation of goods, services, and systems. Of course, what we are saying here is that we must be able to produce goods and products that are competitive so that we can be in the reckoning outside of our own shores. And of course, very importantly, leveraging facts and data rather than fiction, fallacy, guesswork for informed decision making. Because oftentimes we just do some guess. And science is evidence-based. We need evidence, we need data for everything that we do. Planning, what have you. You need this. So it's very important. And we should be looking at our own figures, not the figures that we are getting from foreign lands. Again, promoting capacity building with the Federal Minister of Science, Technology, and Innovation, and indeed among young Nigerians to become entrepreneurs in various small and medium enterprises to lift millions out of poverty. Those are some of the critical success factors that we're using to get to where we want to be. Let me just mention a few of them. I told you we have 17 agencies, and I'm glad to observe that most of the heads of our agencies are here present, and I want to commend all of you that are here to be part of this. Thank you very much. Energy Commission, National Biotechnology Development Agency, NABDA, FIRO. Well, it may interest you that the DG of FIRO is a woman. Aha. I know you will clap for that. As the journalists will say, dog bites man is no news. But man bites dog, that is news. So that men head some agencies is no news. But when women head some of these agencies, it's news, isn't it? And of course, we have the acting DG of NITA, that's Nigeria Institute of Trypanosomiasis and Onchocerciasis in Kaduna, also a woman. Abi? Aha. We have our agencies, National Research Institute for Chemical Technology. You have NASDA, that's National Space Research and Development Agency. You have the Building and Road Research Institute, NIBRI. You have MBTI, National Board of Technology Incubation. The NICFOS, that's the Council of Food Science and Technology, also a woman. I think Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation deserves some applause, at least for allowing women to be heads of so many of our agencies. All these agencies that, you know, what we do are implemented. The ministry as a body, as a headquarters, we churn out policies. But the implementation mostly lie with our agencies. And I can tell you that our agencies have been doing very well, reasonably. So I will have to move fast a bit. By way of policies, of course, we have our National Science, Technology and Innovation Policy. Then we have the National Science, Technology and Innovation Roadmap 2030. We have the National Strategy for Competitiveness in Raw Materials and Products Development and Implementation Plan. We have the Presidential Executive Order number 5. We have the National Policy on Methanol Fuel Production Technology, and we have the National Leather and Products Policy. And recently, the policy on welding and related fields was approved by the Federal Executive Council. That's the latest in terms of the policy of the ministry, which is essentially to create an enabling environment for the sector to create jobs, wealth, and improve science, tech, and innovation contribution to the GDP. Of course, we have the chemical technology policy, and then, of course, the National Biotechnology Development Policy, which has been reviewed, while the ministry is also currently articulating the nanotechnology policy to fast-track industrialization. So, specifically, like I mentioned earlier on, let me now go to the implementations and achievements in terms of the areas that I mentioned. Well, expectedly, you know I will start with health because that is my natural habitat. The Federal Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation has made some very commendable R&D breakthroughs in Medicare and health. Quite a number of non-pharmaceutical products have been developed through our health-related agency, like the various models of environmental disinfectants, spray tunnels, multi-phase disinfectants. And I'm sure if you look at that slide there, you will see that's the spray tunnels. Of course, this became something very important during the height of COVID pandemic. We're not totally out of the wood in terms of COVID. It's still there, but not as devastating as it used to be, particularly when we had those very terrible strains afflicting and leading to high mortality and morbidity. Of course, and I do know that up to now, people still use a lot of sanitizer and all that, and I can tell you that most of these sanitizers were developed from agencies. Alcohol-based and non-alcoholic hand sanitizer gel, and of course the sanitizing kiosk are some of the things produced by some of our agencies. Then the solar-powered smart hand-washing machines and pedal-operated hand-washing machines. Of course, you know hand-washing became something very, very important during the height of COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, the 3D face mask, and some people are still using their mask. Yes, if you feel comfortable, it's just that it's optional now. And of course, ventilators, you know, that was one equipment to deliver oxygen to patients during the COVID era. And of course, we had a local production of ventilators. And of course, other important achievements in the health sector include the use of local herbs, plants, and traditional medical technology in production of drugs and treatment of terminal illnesses and diseases. Like, I'm sure you know, one of the commonest drugs, you know, that was discovered locally is for the treatment of sickle cell anemia, and Nigeria has probably the largest percentage of patients either carrying the trait or who are really sickle cell disease patients. So I'm happy to know that we have found quite a measure of treatment from local sources in that regard. Then, of course, the development of antilipemic. When you say antilipemic, something that could reduce the fat in the body, and that's coming from FIRO. FIRO has done a lot in that regard, and of course, whether in form of snacks or fruits from FIRO, and you see some of these things there on the slide. There's also the production of neem extracts for skin care, and of course oral hygiene products. Well, ladies in the house, I know you are very concerned with your skin. And Madam Firo is here, so just see her after the end of this. So she will give you these products that will make your skin to glow. Of course, development of antihypertensives, drinks that when you take them, develop Firo, will lower your blood pressure. So for patients who are suffering from high blood pressure, we have these things here with us. You may not be seeing them as much in the market, but I can assure you that people are using these products. Of course, I had mentioned anti-sickling, that is drugs that will reverse sickling, which is the major issue in sickle cell disease. There's also development of and production of lovastatin. Lovastatin is a drug that lowers the lipid content of the body. It's very, very important. A lot of people suffer from obesity and a lot of high-level cholesterol in their system. They benefit from this. So there are other things, Taca tuber for the production of starch and glucose syrup, which is used in the process of some industrial production of syrups and other. Well, so many things to mention on that. I don't want to restrict myself to Medicare, lest I'm accused of being biased. So, of course, there are so many other things I've mentioned. Now, I can also tell this audience that in protecting the health of Nigerians, the ministry built the first facility to prevent, detect, and combat biological, radiological, nuclear, and improvised explosive device. In terms of attacks from these agents, there is capacity that we have developed here by NARIT. That's one of our agencies, in this area. Of course, I can also tell you that we developed the smart GSM and GPRS-based emergency management system to support security and health services to address disaster management, security, and quick response. What I'm saying here is that there is a way to acquire some information through the space observation or the information obtained from the space to give us an idea of what is likely to happen. Flooding, name it, in just ahead. You have that information ahead. You only need now to act on the information to prevent disasters. I also know that there have been contributions in the global efforts to fight some diseases like molecular diagnostic laboratory detection of diseases like tuberculosis, Ebola virus, hepatitis, HIV, and of course, there is a forensic laboratory effort going on to do DNA typing research. So I think that's enough for health related. Let me now move to food security. So as part of the government desire to improve food security in the nation and reduce the pressure on conventional food sources, the government, through the Federal Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, developed improved varieties of certain crops to serve as alternative sources for the industrial sector. You know, one of the challenges we face in the area of food security has to do with having disease-resistant varieties. of seeds, that is, seeds that can resist certain diseases. And I can tell you that that's one of the areas of focus of some of our agencies, particularly in biotechnology. The other thing in the area of food security is preservation. A lot of our farm produce, they get spoiled even in a short time. And I can tell this audience that there are efforts in place to reduce, if not totally eliminate, spoilage of this produce. Then, of course, taka. You hear taka. It's a kind of false yam, which is used for the production of starch and glucose syrup, which will reduce pressure on yam, cassava, and maize. We have this being produced by the Raw Materials Research Agency of our ministry. In a similar vein, technology has been developed for the extraction of glucose syrup and ethanol from sweet sorghum, which otherwise would have been sourced from the sources mentioned earlier. I also do know that the agricultural crop boosting program of the ministry through the Raw Materials Research and Development Council, they have developed seedlings and seeds which are distributed to farmers across the Federation. And this has been on since 2015. Seeds like sesame, maize, soybean, cowpea, rice, ginger, banana, plantain, rice, cashew, sugarcane, tomato, okra, sugar beet, groundnut, amongst others. So I did say earlier on that in order to stem the incidences of recurring post-harvest losses in onion and garlic, the Raw Materials and Research Development Council, in collaboration with Afric Generic Synergy Farms, Sokoto, facilitated the design and fabrication of standard processing machine to process onion and garlic into flakes, thereby preserving them from spoilage. And when you put them in flake form, it's like you have your cornflakes, so you also have garlic flakes and onion flakes, which make them more longer lasting. Again, the ministry, through the Raw Materials Agency's program on development of dairy sector, introduced the technology of increasing the daily milk yield of our cows from meager 1 to 1.5 liters of milk per cow per day to over 15 liters of milk per cow per day. And I think that deserves, because this is the essence of what we are saying. I mean, if you can move from 1 to 1.5 liters per cow to 15 liters of milk, I think that's really commendable. And again, of course, you all must have heard about moringa. Moringa is like one product that does so many things. But one of the things that one of our agencies, Chesco, has done is to find a way to incorporate this moringa to fortify livestock feed and fish feed for aquaculture and environmentally friendly insecticide, because it has this capacity to also ensure preservation. So Chesco is also working on that and has done quite a lot to achieve that goal. So still further in support of food security, we have development and implementation of low-cost based farmland irrigation system, and of course pest monitoring and control system, and that's by NASA, and development of production of packaged onion paste and other value-added products from indigenous onion varieties, and that has been put into place by FIRO. That is some kind of paste for onion varieties which you can use in various ways. It will also interest you that FIRO has been able to develop and produce sports drinks from indigenous fruits. You know, athletes and sports men and women, they need some. I mean, that is not forbidden. We're not talking of performance enhancement. We're just talking of course, glucose boost, but from natural sources. And FIRO has been able to do a lot in that regard. Thank you. Madam FIRO, I think you should be the first cheerleader for your agency. Then, of course, FIRO has also been able to develop what we call therapeutic foods for the management of severe acute malnutrition. Now, I can tell you, by virtue of my background, that acute malnutrition is a very, very big problem that our children, particularly under the age of 5, suffer from in our country. And oftentimes, it is just out of ignorance. It's not as if we don't have foods that can give them what they need. Alhaji Lai Mohammed. All I can say is that no weapon fashioned against me shall prosper. But notwithstanding, I'm in your territory and I've noted your information. So, thank you very much. So, I also do know that NARIT has been able to improve the value chain of the laboratory scale, and of course, NARIT has also been able to produce slow-release nitrogen urea fertilizer. We also know that we have so many agrarian communities in our country, and so we need to help what they produce in terms of assisting in boosting their processes. Of course, you can see there rice destoner. I'll tell you that when I was very young, I hated taking rice. Not for any other thing, but because of stones. When you crack a stone, it's like, or when I cracked a stone, it's like my whole head is, it becomes something else. So we now have a device that can destone, which is coming from, again, FIRO. Well, you see, for me, FIRO has been coming on repeatedly. It is expected. It is the oldest research institution or institute in this country, isn't it? Has been there for over 7 years and 70, over 7 decades. So, FIRO, continue to do more. Okay? I do know that, again, you have a coconut oil extraction machine, sugarcane extractors, seed oil expeller, all from FIRO. And of course, CHESCO, design and fabrication of dehumidified air, a dryer for fruits and vegetables. Of course, I did talk about the need for preservation, and that's one of the ways of preserving our fruits. And this is coming from CHESCO, and that's what you have there at the bottom, below the Right, the stoner. So, Chesco, thank you very much for that. Of course, I also mentioned earlier that one of the things our agencies are doing is to support academic and educational capacity building. And in this regard, the achievements include the transmission line trainer, the solar modular trainer, digital process control trainer, and logic gate trainer. This was by Naseni. This was far back in 2015, before Naseni ported to higher quarters in the presidency. But of course, the umbilical cord of Naseni to Federal Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation still remains. That umbilical cord has not been severed. So we still refer to some of the things that they did while under the supervision of the ministry. Of course, they also had mass production and proliferation of educational science, laboratory equipment, and establishment of many foundry and tertiary institutions. All this is to practicalize issues of the sciences generally. You see, because what you see and work with stays more than what you are just told. So that's the whole essence. And of course, the training on next generation molecular biology techniques, on gene cloning and protein expression at the Molecular Biotech Center. This is by NABDA, that is National Biotechnology Development Agency. They've been doing a lot in that regard. When you're able to clone, then you can do mass production. That's the whole essence. Whatever that is cloned can be mass produced. Of course, the ministry provides academic training for postgraduate diploma in technology management, and over 360 students have graduated in postgraduate diploma, while 35 first set of master students have attained the third and final semester. Still in support of academic and educational capacity building, we are working, that is NASA, it's one of our agencies, National Space Research and Development Agency, working on the establishment of Space Museum and Planetarium. And of course, this will boost tourism and generate well over 30 billion naira. We want to see the celestial bodies. You go to a planetarium, you have a better appreciation of our galaxy, and of course, you have a better appreciation of what is happening in the celestial atmosphere. It's part of knowledge sharing, knowledge building. Of course, that project is expected to boost the nation's tourism sector and reduce capital flights and create about 5,000 direct jobs and about 20,000 indirect jobs. I'm talking about science, tech, and innovation. So let me move now to the energy and power development, which is very critical. Of course, you know there's hardly anything, in fact, there's nothing you can do without energy. So we have agencies that are also doing a lot in that regard, particularly through the ECN, North Electricity Supply in Mada River for the supply of electricity to Lagos. Of course, energy storage for application in satellite power system in support of advancement, scientific advancement and satellite development. That's by NASA. Again, there is development of modular digesters for use in power generation and household cooking. This was developed by NABDA. I think that's also commendable. PRODA has developed portable battery charger as well as development of industrial battery charger That's a project development agency in Enugu. So, I am being conscious of the time available to me, lest my friend comes to take the microphone from me. So, of course, let's briefly talk about advancing the frontier of manufacturing and business. The ministry is very uncomfortable with Nigeria's low ranking in global report as produced by the World Economic Forum on issues related to institutional development indicators under basic requirements